next entry to the 2019 Orchestration Challenge is Luke's very Christmassy, very kind of holiday cinematic orchestration, and it's wonderfully charming. There are a few points here and there that might be a little, you know, might there might need to be a little bit of adjustment, but it's really fun. It's just about ready to go to the stands, and I really liked it a lot. Had a lot of character. So, just to start off with, the first violins are pretty much just playing the right hand. Okay, and that's all good. And there's a little bit of support here with A2 flutes. They'll be perfectly fine blending at that in that register at that dynamic. Okay, and then of course we've got the skeleton of the melody being expressed by the oboe and so on. And notice this is kind of similar to a lot of cinematic scores, film scores. Just one oboe is needed, maybe English horn. Do you know what I mean? And that's a very cool English horn part, expressing the basic pattern of the left hand. Adding a note here or there, just like I did. Same thing with the A clarinet, first and then second. Kind of nice trading them off so that the players have a chance to sort of catch their breath. And it's all pretty much, I like this sort of middle high register English horn stuff. That is all going to work fine. Okay. That's great. Okay, so now let's look at the actual fun touches here. All right, we got triangle and glockenspiel playing at the same time. That's what the real Christmassy sound is. It's almost like having a tuned jingle bell. All right, and then the downward glissando on the harp. I'm with you there. I thought that was cool. I like the little touches added. This is going to take a little bit to balance. I'd say probably mezzo forte right here. But that'll still work fine. You have to watch out about that stuff, though. You want to be careful not to broadcast too much. Do you know what I mean? Not to lead the listener too much toward the place you want them to be. Like, for instance, here I would say just really watch out. Like this upsweep here is kind of leading us to this idea. It's a little bit too, for my taste, just a personal, is a thing of taste, it has nothing to do with craft. For my taste, it sort of seems to lead the listener to like, hey, you are going here. You know what I mean? So might want to think about that. It would be the kind of thing that would work perfectly like in a film. So because there's a lot of broadcasting, there's a lot of guidance, of on-hand guidance. But just be careful. I feel like this little run does the trick already, but it's still cool, kind of cool to hear it added to. So no criticism really. What I thought was the strongest part of this page was this lovely measured tremolo. I thought that just gave it this wonderful bustling feeling, mechanical feeling. It just made me think of holidays approaching. The seamstress is madly working on her treadle sewing machine and trying to get everything ready. Making stockings, making buntings, and so on and so forth. Now, here you chose to go with a definite 5/1 kind of accompaniment in the bass. Okay, and that is really, really cool. Now I'll point at one place where it might be a little bit too much. All right, but that's going to be on the next page. Otherwise, I thought it was a very neat way of sort of, please don't take this the wrong way, but sort of popifying this. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's like if we're putting this into a cinematic context, right? You're already adding things that evoke certain images, certain very, very familiar musical imagery that goes with certain, certain associations, right? So this really brings that home, right? The little 5/1 bass. Okay. All right. So just totally it's not intended as a slight or condescending in any way. I think it's admirable. It's a really cool idea. All right. Now this is just really a lovely touch here, right here, playing the basically just holding down the 5 in the bassoon, just below middle C. That was very, very nice. I felt it just gave it that last touch. The one thing I'm not too sure about here is stopped horns up there at mezzo piano. This is the kind of thing that I feel like, if this were recorded as a cue for a film, which, look, I mean, why not? Look, if you get the gig, this would be perfect for that. Just save this. Use it if that comes up. Like if you get a scene in a film that this goes with, just reuse it. I would say. It's your property. Do you know what I mean? It's public domain work, and you can do whatever you like with it. But I would just say, but just to if that does happen, you might find these A2 stopped horns to be brought way, way down in the mix. You know what I mean? They might be mezzo piano here, or pianissimo here in the mix, and then down to like inaudible here. Just because this is going to have a slightly snarly sound, right? It's not. I mean, if you want that same feeling of just pushing this B right here, in a very soft way, it's probably better to use like clarinets playing behind, right? So if this is forte, I would say have them playing mezzo piano, just like you have here, and then fading off into niente or pianissimo or whatever, right? In a film context. Okay, so trilled horns, like I'm not sure which horn is trilling here. So both horns are trilling. I feel that there needs to be more guidance, right? I think that you should have if you're trilling both pitches. I almost feel like you just really have to make it clear to the conductor, whether that's like 2 trill lines, 2 trill markings, or a trill line above and a trill line below, in separate voices. I mean, I just feel like there needs to be more than just because, like, I'm looking at this and I don't know whether this is trilled both or trilled one. And like the copyist will bring it up, right? So if you're the copyist and you know what you want, you can fix it there. But then the conductor will ask you, right? So, I mean, the default is that is intended to be for both pitches, but it can still be very unclear. And like when you're trilling way down here on the horn, right? That is like trilling on the pitch of D in the bass staff, right? And like that is the same exact thing here, this same pitch. The conductor may well ask whether or not that's really intended. Do you really want trills down low? Because it's almost like a bass drum or a timpani rolling, right? Okay, so but other than that, this is really fun. I liked the little tink of xylophone there. Okay, and of course the pit's right there, and it was nice that you brought the strings out of it, right, so that they could just provide a little bit of push, right, on that last beat. Very, very cool. On the next page, we have just a little bit clearer scoring, I thought. Once again, here you're going to get a question, right? I mean, like, okay, so you've got cellos trilling down there and violas trilling down there. So by this point, the conductor might sort of figure out, okay, so he really does want a trill on a low written A in the trumpets. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of, I guess you want B flat trumpets here because they have a lower reach or something, or lower range. Anyway, I mean, I think that C trumpets would actually play this better, like what I've seen so far, and this other stuff and so on. But I mean, if you are a brass geek and that's your choice, then that's cool with me. What works for you works for me. That's all good. So the same exact strategy here. So not a whole lot new to talk about. This is well set up. This little cadence leading back to the 1. It's good. Okay, so here was that part that I was going to caution you to think about. I don't know, like cautioning you against precisely, but just, to consider the fact that you may once again be leading the audience a little bit too predictably back to the 1, right? And that is to put the is to throw in the 5 here, right? I just feel that that is a little too clear, right? It's almost like it's almost like you're spelling it out for the audience too much. Do you know what I mean? But anyhow, it's fine. It works with the general scheme. There's nothing that you've written here that like doesn't work with the general scheme of what you are planning, and there's really no bad orchestration here. I mean, it's all scored really wonderfully, and I would just say this is pretty much ready for the stands up to A, where I'm evaluating. I'd have to look at this more closely to sort of see, some suggestions and stuff. But I mean, there's nothing in this so far that couldn't be fixed with just a teeny bit of pencil work, if need be, and so on. So I feel it's a very strong score, very strong entry. Yeah, right here you got bassoon doubling a second clarinet. I mean, that's going to be a really thick, very Russian sound. But you are already you've got your oboe doubling the first clarinet, so bassoon doubling the second clarinet. It's going to be a very, very rich sound altogether, and it will also give you a cliff to fall off here, right? So that just when you have just solo oboe, then you're suddenly bringing the energy down. So I mean. I just know I'm going to run into scores where I have less to be picky about. Do you know what I mean? And I can point out all of the good points, especially in a very shorter, like a much shorter entry like this one. I mean, I really wish that you had entered this as, say, like, as like a Brev supporter or semi-Brev, so I could go ahead and evaluate more, but it's very nicely done, and I would say just post a link to if people want to hear more, put it on SoundCloud, post that link underneath this post in Patreon. Okay, so just really nice work, really enjoyed this. So on to our third Minim supporter.